When does she truly start missing you? Not the superficial, I'm bored kind of missing, but the deep, soul-shaking realization that you meant more than she ever admitted, even to herself. It doesn't happen overnight. Not when you text, not when you chase. It happens when you vanish with quiet dignity, when you become scarce, calm, and unbothered. Let's break it down. The 11 subtle moments she begins to miss you for real. 1. The silence after the storm. Right after the breakup or distance, emotions run high. But when the chaos fades, your silence speaks louder than any words. That's when the first seed of missing you takes root. During the storm, it's easy to drown in the noise. Arguments, tension, floods of words that mean less than the quiet that follows. She might have said things in anger, and so did you. But now, you're not replying, not reacting, not defending yourself. That stillness becomes impossible to ignore. At first, she'll rationalize it. It's for the best. We need space. But your silence isn't passive. It's deliberate. You're not waiting around, sending midnight texts, or watching her stories for a sign. You've chosen stillness not out of weakness, but strength. Imagine this. She checks her phone, expecting a message, a call, but there's nothing. Days pass. A week. The absence grows heavier. What she once took for granted, your presence, your attention, is gone. And in its place, silence. That's when it hits her. It's not just your voice she misses, but your calm. The way you grounded her when life felt chaotic. She replays old messages, laughs at shared memories. Alone. As Marcus Aurelius said, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. Her pain isn't from your absence. It's from realizing what it means. You're no longer waiting. You've chosen peace over persuasion, self-respect over validation. You've shown her that you won't beg for someone to value you. If you're in that silence now, don't break it. Let it linger. Let her feel the weight of what's gone. Because when the storm fades, the truth remains. And sometimes, the loudest statement is saying nothing at all. Question for you. Have you ever experienced that kind of silence? Not out of anger, but from finally valuing yourself enough to walk away without a word? Drop a comment or share. My silence wasn't empty. It was full of strength. Your story might inspire others here. 2. When her routine feels empty, the little things, texts, calls, shared memes, are gone. She notices the void where you once were. At first, it's not loss she feels, but absence. It creeps in subtly. When she unlocks her phone and sees no notification from you. When she watches something funny and instinctively goes to send it to you, then stops. She doesn't miss you at first. She misses how you made her feel. You were a steady presence in her daily rhythm, until suddenly, you weren't. Now, she scrolls, searching for that same spark, but it's not the same. No one fills that space like you did. Your absence isn't loud, but it's undeniable, like the quiet after a favorite song ends. She starts to understand connection isn't just about grand gestures, but the comfort of consistency. And without it, even the smallest parts of her day feel off. Here's the truth, you didn't lose her. You removed yourself from where you weren't valued. That's not revenge. It's self-respect. The Stoic in you shines here. You didn't rush back to fill the void or send a desperate text. You chose stillness over neediness. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It is not things that disturb us, but our judgment about them." She assumed your presence was guaranteed until it wasn't. Now she's left with that realization. Maybe pride keeps her from admitting it, but deep down, her routine feels colder. Because what she dismissed as habit was actually you. Let her feel that emptiness. Not to make her suffer, but because you refuse to be an afterthought in someone else's story. Your silence isn't indifference, it's discipline. And when she finally understands what she lost, she won't just miss you, she'll miss the version of herself that felt whole with you in her life. 3. When other men don't measure up, she meets others, but something feels off. The emotional depth, the calm presence, the way you held space without effort. They try to impress her, buying drinks, cracking jokes, flooding her with attention. But over time, she senses the hollowness behind it all. What they offer is noise. What you offered was presence. You didn't chase validation. You didn't perform. You simply were, fully, calmly, without needing to be the center of attention. And that contrast lingers. Maybe she's on a date now. The guy says all the right things, but she zones out, not on purpose, but because her body remembers. It remembers the safety she felt with you, the way your silence didn't feel heavy, the way your stillness grounded her instead of making her anxious. That's not something another man can replicate, because it wasn't a tactic, it was your essence. Stoicism teaches us not to compete, not to grasp, not to seek external approval to know our worth. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. That's what you did. You weren't trying to outshine anyone. You stood firm in self-awareness, integrity, and quiet strength. Now, no matter how many men try to win her over, she can't ignore the difference. Some men stand out by performing. Rare men stand out simply by being at peace. When other men don't measure up, it's not because you competed. It's because she's realizing what real presence feels like. And once you felt that, everything else starts to feel shallow, temporary, forgettable. 4. The mirror moment. One day, she looks in the mirror, but not just at herself. She sees who she was when she was with you, and she realizes she hasn't felt like that version of herself since. It starts subtly. Maybe she's brushing her hair, or a song comes on that used to play in your car. Then it hits her, not just the memory of you, but the memory of herself around you. The softness she allowed, the way she laughed without holding back, the ease in her eyes when she knew she was safe, seen, and valued. Now, that reflection doesn't match. She might be surrounded by new people, new distractions, but that version of herself doesn't surface anymore. Because it wasn't just about how you treated her. It was about what you brought it out in her. Calm, clarity, the freedom to exhale. That's what she misses. Not just the man, but the mirror you unknowingly held up to her best self. Here's the truth. You never forced her to be that way. You didn't perform or manipulate. You were steady in your values, present but never possessive. Your quiet strength gave her space to become more of who she wanted to be. As Epictetus said, know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly. You didn't lose yourself trying to win her. You knew who you were, and in that knowing, you invited her to meet you at your level, not by demand, but by energy. Now, without you, that mirror is gone. She's still here, but the clarity isn't. And that's what true reflection does. It makes us compare who we are now to who we were when we felt most alive. When that moment comes, when she sees the gap between her current self and the woman she was with you, it creates a quiet ripple, not just of missing you, but of missing herself around you. And that kind of missing, it lasts longer than attraction, because it's not about ego, it's about identity. You left a mark, not by trying to change her, but by remaining unchanged in your purpose. That's the difference between impact and attachment. One fades, the other shows up unexpectedly, in mirrors, in memories, in moments she never thought would weigh so much. Pause here. This isn't just about her reflection, it's about yours. While she searches for the version of herself that felt most alive beside you, you've been evolving too. You've become the man who doesn't just hold space for others, but honors his own. And that is rare. 5. When you stop watching, you used to check her stories, her posts, her online breadcrumbs, hoping for a sign. But now, you don't. And that's when she feels it. Because attention isn't just about presence, it's about energy. When you withdraw yours, she notices the shift, not because you're playing games, but because you finally directed that energy back where it belongs. When you stopped watching, you used to check her stories, like her posts, maybe even reply, small gestures that reassured her she still lived in your thoughts. But now, silence. No views, no reactions, no digital breadcrumbs. The shift isn't dramatic, but it's deeply felt. Because here's the truth. It's not the arguments that linger. It's your absence in the places she expected you most. This silence isn't petty or bitter. It's intentional. When a man reclaims his focus, when he stops watching from the sidelines of someone else's life, he returns to the only thing he can truly control, himself. That's where your power sharpens. She checks her story views, expecting your name. When it's not there, a quiet question forms. Why isn't he watching? Because she didn't just lose your attention, she lost your energy. Stoically speaking, attention is currency. And you, as a grounded man, no longer spend it on what doesn't serve your peace. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." That's the shift here. Not just your actions, but your estimation. You're no longer impressed by surface-level validation. You've raised your standards, quietly, without announcement. Let her wonder. Let her feel the difference. This isn't about punishing her. It's about respecting yourself enough not to feed a connection that no longer feeds you. When you stop watching, you stop giving her the stage she performed on. And in that pause, she begins to notice what your quiet presence once offered: depth, intention, stability. Ask yourself, where is your attention going these days? Is it on someone else's curated life, or on building your own with strength, clarity, and presence? Because the moment you stop watching her is the moment she starts watching you. 6. When she remembers the calm, life gets chaotic, work stress, shallow interactions, distractions. Then it hits her, your calm was her safe space. Not just the way you spoke, but the energy you carried. You weren't loud. You weren't emotionally reactive. You didn't rush to fix everything. Yet your presence made her feel like everything was under control. She notices it in contrast. Maybe it's when she's around someone new who talks too much, tries too hard, reacts to every little thing. Or when she opens up to someone and realizes they're more interested in giving advice than actually listening. That's when the memory of you creeps in. Not because you said the right words, but because you didn't need to. You were centered, grounded, stoic. Not in a cold, unfeeling way, but in a steady, reassuring one. Marcus Aurelius said, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." That's the difference you brought. You carried that internal stillness into the space between you and her. Now, in the noise of her everyday life, She remembers what it felt like to be near someone who wasn't trying to impress, just being. The truth? She didn't just miss a man. She missed what you represented. Peace. Strength without force. A reminder that calm is magnetic in a world that glorifies chaos. And here's what she never expected. The man she once saw as too quiet becomes the standard she measures others against. Because chaos might be exciting, but calm feels like home. Your calm was never passive. It was controlled, not over her, but over yourself. Now, when life feels unbalanced, she doesn't just think of you. She feels the absence of that serenity you carried effortlessly. That's the mark of a man who lives with intention. You didn't just share moments. You shaped how she experiences safety. Without you, she realizes, the world is loud, but you were peace. 7. The emotional trigger. A song, a place, a scent. Suddenly, memories flood in. Uninvited, undeniable. Maybe it's the cafe you both used to visit, tucked in a quiet corner where time moved slower. That one track that plays on shuffle, the one she once said reminded her of you. In that split second, her world pauses. Not because she wants to feel it, but because she can't help but feel it. That's the thing about emotional triggers. They bypass logic. They don't ask permission. They strike when she's scrolling, driving, pretending to be fine. And when they hit, it's not just the memory of you. It's how she felt around you. Safe, seen, grounded. Here's where Stoicism quietly shines. You never clung to moments out of fear. You showed up fully, like a man who knew time was a gift, not a guarantee. Because you were so present, those moments left imprints. Now, long after you've walked away with dignity, it's not your face she remembers. It's your presence. That calm certainty, that quiet strength, the way you made space feel still just by being in it. If she freezes at a memory triggered by something as small as a scent, it's not because she misses the past. It's because the past still echoes in the present. That's the paradox. You didn't try to leave a mark, but because you lived without clinging, you became unforgettable. That's the kind of man Stoicism molds. Not loud, not desperate to be remembered, but deeply felt, especially in silence. Let that sink in. Your calm presence, lived fully in the moment, leaves a deeper mark than any grand gesture ever could. That's the power of impact without attachment. When she realizes she can't access you anymore, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually, you've closed the door with dignity, and what she once took for granted now feels unreachable. She used to have that unspoken access, the ability to pull you back with a text, a post, a memory, a moment of softness. But not anymore. You're not cold. You're calm. You're not punishing. You're simply done offering what was no longer valued. Maybe she reaches out with something casual. Hey, hope you're well. Before, that would have been enough to reel you in. But now, you've outgrown the need to respond just to feel seen. You see yourself clearly. You're no longer waiting behind that emotional door. You've locked it, not out of bitterness, but evolution. This shift isn't announced. It's felt in. The silence, the lack of reaction, the fact that her usual tactics no longer work. She starts to realize you're no longer available on her terms. She can't feel your energy anymore. Not when she wants, not how she wants. And that quiet realization, it hits harder than any argument ever could. A Stoic truth. Marcus Aurelius once said, The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injustice. You don't get even. You get better. You move forward, and in doing so, you become inaccessible. Not out of pride, but because your peace now sits where her chaos once did. She didn't expect the door to close gently. She didn't expect the version of you who once waited, hoped, or explained to simply disappear. But he did. Not with drama, with grace. And that's what lingers with her. Not the absence of communication, but the absence of availability. Now, she feels the boundary. The emotional gate that once swung open for her is now sealed by growth. You're no longer a man who entertains confusion. You've chosen clarity. And when a man moves like that, not to hurt, but to heal, his absence becomes unforgettable. You didn't end things with spite. You simply walked forward. And that distance? That's when she truly starts to miss you. Because she realizes the version of you she once had access to no longer exists. And that truth? That's what echoes loudest. The conclusion. The moment she truly starts missing you isn't when you disappear overnight. It's when you evolve quietly. When your presence stops showing up where she expected it. When your peace speaks louder than any words you ever said. This isn't about games or making her suffer. It's about you stepping into your power, choosing growth over chasing, stillness over noise, self-respect over validation. And that shift, that's what she feels. That's when the missing begins. Not for the version of you she took for granted, but for the version she never saw coming. The takeaway: your absence only creates impact when it's backed by real inner change. So don't wait for her to notice. Let your life speak. Let your silence teach. Let your calm remind her of the man you've become. Question for you: which moment do you think hits her the hardest? Drop your thoughts below, or simply leave this. She didn't expect the silence to echo this loud. If this resonated with you, let me know. And if you want to dive deeper into self-growth, silent strength, and the power of moving forward, stay tuned. Until then, stay grounded, stay focused, protect your peace,